If you open up Instagram and you scroll through and you see all your friends and family and old friends from school who've now got successful jobs, they've got very happy, fulfilling careers, it seems. They've got loving partners and they're maybe even starting families, and you feel so behind, that can be so incredibly draining and that can really knock you down. But often when we get into that state, we then suddenly think we need to rush, we need to become faster, we need to speed up and do something that will kind of cut all the corners and get us from here, or rather from here to here. And that's actually keeping you where you are. The truth is, we can't do everything, but if we work out the right steps that we can take, we can eventually get everything. You've just got to work out the right process. For instance, if I was to tell you to make a sandwich and I told you that you had to do every single step of that whole process all at the same time, it's going to be confusing. It's going to be messy. Bits of food are going to be flying out everywhere. But the truth is that in order to make a sandwich, you need to follow step-by-step processes, and you need one thing to be complete before you move on to the next stage. You need to have the bread cut before you can then put stuff on the bread. And then you need to have certain things piled on top of other certain things. And life is like a sandwich. There's certain things that if we can lay the groundwork first for them, we can then build on them after. And in this video, I want to give you a very quick way that you can think through this. You can work out what step you are on, and you can work out how you can move up to the next step. Because we don't need to get everything in life straight away in order to live happily. We just need to see progress, because progress gives us hope and it gives us direction to work towards. And direction gives us excitement for life. And this step-by-step process was actually created by a psychologist in the 1950s and 60s in America. And it follows this kind of lineup. Can't really see that well. My camera doesn't have very good lighting, but I'll take you through them. So that triangle that you were meant to see there, that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it says that essentially we work in stages towards kind of greater things in life, and we have certain needs from life that without them we feel unfulfilled, we feel miserable, we feel depressed, we don't feel like we're living life to the fullest we can do. And in fulfilling each stage, we can graduate up to the next one. Now, he made some changes here and there, but we're not talking about the nuances of psychology. We're talking about getting you into a place where you can actually enjoy your life. So step one, the first thing that you need met, the first need you have is physiological needs. So before we get into anything about having a fulfilling career, having great families and stuff like this, we just want to make sure that you can breathe, that you can eat, that you can sleep. We just want to make sure that within the next less than a week, you're not going to die because you don't have access to the things that you need to survive. So hopefully if you're watching this, you do have access to those things. If you don't, then the first step you need to take is to go to charities and go to places where people will be able to provide you these things so that you can fulfill even just the basic needs for survival. Step two is safety. Now, safety is when you've got enough food to actually not just die on the spot or die within this next week, but you actually have a place that will provide you safety. So this might be a homeless shelter that doesn't have people who are violent in. This might mean having your own home, even if that's rented, or whether that's rented with money you don't have necessarily. This might even be staying with a friend or relative, even just for a couple of months, so that you can find your feet. The important part about this is you need to be able to find a place where you're not just always on edge. And definitely you're going to be on edge because you're going to be worried about paying bills, paying debts back, borrowing money from people potentially, where your next meal is going to come from. Those are going to be stressful, but we just need to make sure that there's at least a place where you can be stressed out, basically. This second stage is actually where a lot of people find themselves as well, because this is also where we're going to start looking for employment. And We don't need to worry about getting any employment that is fulfilling or our purpose in life. All we need is something that's going to pay the bills, something that will get us out of debt, something that will get us at least stable. So if you're at this stage, you don't need to worry about finding a passion in life. You don't even need to worry about having good friendships with people. The only task you need right now is just to find a job that pays you more than you're spending. And so you need to then also find ways to cut back on your spending if you can do. If you're doing the bare necessities, then hey, that's understandable. Like, that's all you can do. But this is where you need to get creative and inventive at what you can cut down on. Then what we want to do is, once we know that the amount of money we're getting in is more than the amount of money we're spending to live, we want to use any of that surplus to improve our lives and improve just our condition. So this is when we might want to focus on our health. This is when we might want to be able to find ways to relax our bodies. Because at the end of the day, if we can actually improve how essentially our bodies function, we will then be able to move up and be able to be capable of more things. And if we're capable of more things, then there are more kinds of jobs we can do, and there are new skills that we can learn as well. Once you've secured a position where you're doing work that it's paying the bills, it's letting you rest a little bit, then that's when we need to move into step 3. And we need to make sure that we actually have good relations with people around us. There was a study done where there was this textiles factory, and people were asked about how meaningful they thought their work was. And people were also asked about kind of what they thought about their work. And the people who said that when they did their work, they realized it kind of brought aid to their families and kept their families secure, they reported that their work was more meaningful. And that's because it literally was. When they noticed that kind of connection, it made their work more meaningful, and they were kind of more willing to do the work as well. So when we're improving our connections and relationships with people, we're doing this because it also then fosters our ability to work harder as well, which will also give us more money, which will then give us more resources to actually start kind of slowly enjoying life a little bit. Now, I'm moving through this quite quickly. This is only maybe less than 20-minute YouTube video. This isn't going to solve your whole life, but this is going to give you a blueprint that you can use. Now, most people don't even graduate past step 3. They end up with families that people don't enjoy being around each other. People don't spend time or effort getting to know each other, and they feel hurt and they feel not, listened to or connected to. Now, one of the ways that you can actually improve step 3 is if you actually kind of jump up to step 4, because step 4 is when you focus on your self-esteem. This is when you start expressing how you want to live your life. So you've been able to secure a decent amount of money. It may be nothing. It may mean that you've got £50 left at the end of the month, and that's all you've got to spend on yourself. But this is an opportunity where you can start to try and work out what you care about. Your priority at this point should be allowing yourself to have as much time as possible outside of work to be able to reflect and to relax, because not only will that make your work easier because you'll have fully relaxed, but you will have also had time to actually think about what you care about in life. Now, personally, the way I look at it is that if you can garner respect for yourself, if you can know the direction that you want to take your life, and you have an idea of that you can have a position and you can go for what you want in life and you can have opinions, I think that actually makes the step 3, the love and belonging, a bit easier. If you have people around you who don't show you respect and don't show you love and try and push their opinions onto you, then you need to be able to form your own form of self-love to be able to kind of create a bubble where you do get respect, you do get hope, you do get trust from someone, and that's yourself. You be the best friend who's encouraging you, like a cheerleader on the side of a football field or something, or American football field. But once you've supported yourself enough, once you've given yourself enough encouragement, once you've given yourself enough hope that you can actually achieve what you want to do, or even just entertain the ideas of being able to possibly kind of strive for what you want, then you'll have filled your cup up so much that you will then be able to just let that cup kind of overflow, and then you can then start nourishing relationships with other people. If you've made the hard work of supporting yourself and reflecting and thinking about ways that you can actually encourage yourself to go for what you want, rather than keep on knocking yourself down, keep on discrediting your capability of doing stuff, because you probably are doing that. If you can actually encourage yourself, if you can actually turn around and say what you would say to a friend, where you go, well, even in the most direst of situations, you might go, well, I don't know if you've got the qualifications to kind of go for that thing, but you can still try, you can still go for it. If you treat yourself that way and you give yourself encouragement and you feel good in yourself, then you can then start letting that positivity go into the people around you. And that can help love and belonging, where you bring up other people, you care for others, you go that little bit extra effort because you have a little bit more of that energy, because you've given yourself that energy and that space to be able to grow. Now, lastly, once we have made sure that you can actually drink, eat and sleep, once we've made sure that you've actually got a roof over your head and you've got enough money to actually keep on continuing to exist, once you've been able to foster relationships with your family that actually make you feel like you're closer to them, and once you've given yourself self-respect and permission to go for what you want, then you can then unlock the fifth state, which is where, all these like artists and actors and entrepreneurs and whoever, this is where they live. This is when they do self-actualization. This is when you stop doing your work for money, but because you then actually have something you want to fix in the world, or because you just feel like this is the best way you can fully express yourself. And very few people make it to step 5. Most people get stuck at step 3. And these 5 stages that you go through, these are what Maslow, who's the psychologist we're talking about, these are what he deemed as like the fullest expression of life. Once you get up to 5, you've essentially completed life, and you will be free of needing anything because you will have achieved all the needs that way. And the important thing about this is its stages and its steps. You don't have to do it all in one go. And in fact, he's even saying, don't try and do it all in one go. If you can just focus on the first one and you can slowly build it up step by step, you will eventually be able to get to the top. And because you haven't tried to do all of them at the same time, you haven't tried to start a business, and you haven't tried to like reconnect with friends, and you haven't tried to like buy a house or like whatever, and because you haven't tried to like pursue your career in art or any of these things, because you've just progressively stepped it up, it's like being able to make a sandwich in stages, rather than trying to do every single step of making a sandwich all at once. Now, this is what maybe like a 10-minute video or something, but this story is something that almost all of us will be playing out over at least 10 years, maybe at least 20 or 30 years. And every kind of need can be met slightly better as you progress up them as well. But if you do feel lost, if you feel like there's so many things you need to do all at once, then don't worry. Take this as your framework. You don't have to do all of them. You only have to focus on the first one. And then once you've got that stable enough, you can then progress to the second one. And then once you get that stable enough, you go to the third. And if you'd like another video about how you can if you want another video about graduating up kind of your ability to know and execute on certain things, then watch this video here, as it should be very helpful for that.